So here I am. It is Saturday, and I think it's about 12:54. It's so dang humid outside. I'm gonna work on the farm later. I worked earlier this morning, and I don't like humidity. Ugh. Anyway, um, I had a couple of questions sent to me, and for one, the other virtual office hours the other day, I actually skipped a question. I'm sorry. And there was somebody asked another question about one of the questions. And I'm not fussing here, but I just want to make sure everybody understands why I ask you to send questions with Ask My Instructor. One, there's no there's no ambiguity. In other words, you're sending me the question that you see. And that's why it's important for you to use Ask My Instructor. The second reason is because I can answer the question I can put the answers in the question, and I can keep going and find out where your question is. And I don't have to go through and look for it. So the third is I don't have to go in and look for it. It's just all in all better for you to send me questions with Ask My Instructor versus texting me or emailing me and say, could you go over this question and give me a question? There's a reason I do everything. And one of the reasons I do Ask My Instructor is there's no ambiguity. And it's very quick, it's very clear, and I don't have to go looking for the questions. All right. One question that was sent is this question right here. And this is the one I just didn't go over it. I had it right here. I had one like it because when I pulled up mine in my homework assignment, because that's what I have to do when you don't send me a question with Ask My Instructor, I have to go look for it either in your grade book or my assignments. And that's why this one's different. So I'm going to give you the one I did, and then we'll do this problem. So this is number 90. I think it's I can't tell you, number 29 in your homework. So the one that I have, or the one that I did and I didn't do the other day, I don't know why I skipped it. It must have been 2 pages stuck together. Y equals to 13x over x plus 13. And the directions are the same. Find the inverses associated with the blah, 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 blah. Okay? So, oops. There we go. And I'm going to change everything. X is equal to 13y over y plus 13. Multiply both sides by y plus 13. And that's going to give me x times y plus 13 is equal to 13y. And then I'm going to distribute this because I got to get all my y's on one side because I'm solving for y. xy plus 13x is equal to 13y. Bring this over. And 13x is equal to 13y minus xy. 13x is equal to y, 13 minus x. So y inverse, or f of x inverse, whatever you want to call it, is equal to 13x over 13 minus x. And the domain of that function, 13 minus x is equal to 0, negative x is equal to negative 13, x is equal to 13. So you cannot plug in 13. So here is that's your inverse function, and that's your domain. So your domain would be, you can write it as x such that x cannot equal 13 That's one way to write it in set builder notation. Interval notation would be negative infinity to to 13 exclusive, because if you plug in 13, you get a 0. And then 13 to infinity if you wrote it in set builder notation. So there's your two answers, I would assume. And of course, this one says 5x over x plus 5. So f of x is equal to 5x over x plus 5. Y is equal to 5x over x plus 5. Y times x plus 5 is equal to 5x. Oh, I didn't switch. X is equal to 5y over y plus 5, sorry. X times y plus 5 is equal to 5y. Xy plus 5x is equal to 5y. 5x is equal to xy plus 5y. I'm sorry, that should be negative. So 5x is equal to 5y minus xy. 5x is equal to y, 5 minus x, and divide by 5 minus x. So y inverse, or f of x inverse, is equal to 5x over 5 minus x. So the domain is going to be, well, it should be 5. So x such that x cannot equal 5. That's set builder notation. And then negative infinity to 5. And then 5 to infinity. And that should be your answers. I don't know which one they want as far as set builder notation or interval notation, but that should be your answers. So the inverse is, what's our inverse? 5x over 5 minus x. So 5x over 5 minus x. And that's a good test question. I like that question. I like any of the inverse questions because it's pretty straightforward. The domain of each inverse is 5. It says interval notation. So parentheses, negative infinity, comma, 5, close parentheses, union, open parentheses, 5, comma, infinity, close parentheses. That should be your answer. Yep. That's a good test question because it's straightforward, pretty simple. I mean, straightforward and simple as far as not a bunch of Philadelphia lawyer questions. Okay, next question. Okay, this is a question that I might have skimmed over too much. I remember graphing it, and I remember talking about, but I may not. I can't remember if I did the inverse, and I just can't remember. I don't think I did. No, I don't think I did. And I think that was the reason, the question, because I didn't know B was find the inverse. I thought it was just going to ask all the, so I'll start back over with it. You're going to have to get it in interval, or you're going to have to get it in, I think we did one like it. Hold on a second. Going to have to get it in the intercept notation first. Let me make sure hold on, I got to move this window. I'm trying to do everything on one screen. Here we go. Okay, this was a little bit different from the one I did. I can't remember. So use completing the square. So I'm just going to use f of x. I'm not going to use t. So f of x is equal to negative 16 t squared plus 32t. And I had negative 16 squared, t squared plus 288. So mine was a little bit different. So, and I remember I did this one right here, and remember I made a mistake. And I think I said I made a mistake, but I can't remember. When I factor out that negative 16, that makes that 288 a negative 18. And I think I made that mistake, and I saw it at the end. Remember, I saw it at the end because you can't have negative 9 feet. And I told you that it has to be positive, and that's how I caught the error. So I think I made that mistake, but I corrected it, so I don't suck as bad. Set y equal to 0 for your x-intercepts. And I'm going to use complete the square to get it in vertex form. So that's going to be, I'm going to turn it around, negative 16t squared plus 32t plus blank is equal to 0 plus blank, because there's not, you don't have a c, so you're just going to bring it over. Okay? Factor out the negative 16. That's going to give you t squared minus 2t plus blank is equal to 0 plus negative 16 times t. Now, two things here. Take your highlighter. Whatever you factor out has to be multiplied by that blank. Now, I told y'all that in the class, and I told you, I said, just do what I tell you. Don't try to think too much, because this is a different variation of completing the square. Usually you do everything on the left-hand side, but it's a whole lot easier to teach this method. So that's why I tell students, just this comes from when you do it on one side. And that turns to a negative, and that's where I made the mistake, but I corrected it in the previous problem that I did the other day, that one right there. So I did correct that. And how I corrected it was when I saw that the vertex was negative 9, I said, distance can't be negative. And that's how I knew that. Okay, because you're throwing a ball. You don't throw the ball forward and go behind you. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I knew the negative 9 was wrong. Okay, shut up, Hubert. Plus half of 2. Half of 2 is 1. And 1 squared is 1. So you put a 1 there and a 1 there. And you get negative 16, shortcut number 2, t minus 1, quantity squared, is equal to negative 16. Now, at this point, you're going to go over here, and you're going to say f of x is equal to negative 16, t minus 1, quantity squared, plus 16. And that we're going to use to find our inverses. And we're going to continue here and find our vertex. Our vertex is 1, 16. That's our vertex. And we're going to solve for our x-intercept. So divide by, I'm going to just rewrite it, negative 16, t minus 1, quantity squared is equal to negative 16. Divide by negative 16. And we've got t minus 1, quantity squared is equal to 1. The square root, t minus 1 is equal to 1, and t is equal to 0. So that's our x-intercept. Oh, it should be, I'm sorry, be plus or minus 1. And plus 1 will give us 2 and 0. Sorry. There we go. Now, we haven't got to the find the inverses yet, because we're going to see what this looks like. So I'm going to take everything over here. And since I think it's in the first quadrant because we're throwing a ball, and you can't throw the ball underground and you can't throw it behind you. Well, you can throw it behind you, but you have to turn around to do it. Or you throw it backwards, and that wouldn't count because that wouldn't be what we're doing right here. Because this is throwing it forward. So it's going to look like a parabola. It's going to start at 0 because that's where we said it was going to start. And this is going to be, what do we say? 2. So 2 seconds. So 1 second is going to be right there, and 0 seconds is there. And 1 second gives us a vertex of 16 feet. Now I say this is a ball. I don't know what they're throwing. A baseball. Okay. So 16 feet. So somebody pretty much sucks at throwing a baseball. All right. So there you go. And what else? Well, you could find anything else. And remember, throw the horizontal line test on there, and that means it is not a one-to-one function. And I like to think of a one-to-one function. A one-to-one function is like a 45-degree line. For every one you go this way, you go up one. Every one you go up, that's a one-to-one function. This is not a one-to-one function because you have 2 horizontal lines. Well, here, what about the vertical line? Well, that means it's a function. Vertical line test, it crosses 1 time, so that means it is a function. The horizontal line test says it's not a one-to-one function. All right, all that being said, now let's go back to the function f of x is equal to negative 16 t minus 1 quantity squared plus 16. Y is equal to negative 16 x minus 1 quantity squared plus 16. Switch. X is equal to negative 16 y minus 1 quantity squared plus 16. And now solve for y. Bring that 16 over. That becomes x minus 16 is equal to negative 16 times y minus 1 quantity squared. Divide by negative 16. And we get x minus 16 over negative 16 is equal to y minus 1 quantity squared. And then that's going to take the square root of both sides. And I'm going to do a little bit of magic here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to factor a negative 1 over a negative 1 out, which is positive 1. And that's going to give me the square root of, that would be negative x, negative x plus 16, negative x plus 16 over 16, because I factored out a negative 1 over negative 1. And that's equal to y minus 1, y minus 1. And then bring that 1 over, and that's going to give me 1 plus or minus the square root of negative x, and they left the 16 in the radical all over 4. They took the radical, they took the square root of 16 on the bottom. So that should be your answer. And I think that's what they got. Okay, it says find the inverse function that gives the time t at which the ball is at height h. Let me see what else that says. See, I didn't see this the other day. Express your, I don't know exactly what they're asking there. Unless they're wanting t is equal, let's see, downward. Okay, remember, I think I went over one like this in class. This side is going to be minus, and this side is going to be plus. Okay, so here I'm going to do the plus, and I think I went over this in class. I remember going over it. The reason I say in class is because I don't know where I would have went over it unless I was doing it in No, I think I went over it in class. I think it was a homework question. So this would be the plus, and you need to put a plus or minus. Okay, that one is just, okay, upward. There's the minus. Now, 1 plus, you just copy this. Can I copy? Heck no. All right, well, then you type in the positive. So that'd be 1 plus, and then fraction bar, square root on the top. Where's the square root symbol? Square root of 16 minus h over 4. That's it. At what time is the ball at height 7 feet on the way up? Okay, well, look at your graph. That's what the graph is for. So at 1 second, we're at 16 feet. So where is 7 feet? Well, that's about the pink line. Arbitrarily, I put it about halfway. So that's about 8 feet. So 7 feet, I'll do my green marker. 7 feet would be right here. 7 feet in the air. So you want to find how many seconds. So you can either go into the table, we can either graph this. Let's do that. Let's graph it because that's what I would do if I was doing it on a test. So here we go. Y is equal to negative 16x squared. I think this is like the one we just, okay, hold on. 16t squared plus 32t. Yeah, this is the one I did the other day. 32, delete. I think that's it, and graph. And it's right down here, and I'm not going through all that zoom stuff. I'm going to try to zoom fit and zoom standard. If it doesn't do that, then I'm just going to go straight to the table. Zoom standard 6. Okay, whatever. Let me do zoom fit. 0. I don't understand why this thing is so, I've done something to it. I don't know what I've done to it, but Lord have mercy, it's messed up. I'm going to do -1, and my largest x value is 2 seconds. So I'm just going to say 5. And then my largest y value, I'm going to put -1. My largest y value is 16, so I'm going to put 20. Now, that should be a little bit better. My gosh, I put... Okay, let me go back. Sorry about this, folks. I don't know why it went to -1920. Maybe y'all can tell me what happened. I don't know. Y min is -1, -1, and 20. I think it was operator error. Y scale is 1. Now, there we go. That looks a whole lot better. So there's our ball going up in there, and you want to find out when the y is equal to 7. So go to window, or which one? Table, sorry. Table. And when is y equal to 7? Well, you got to get around 1 or 2 because remember you can't throw this ball very well. There's, let's see. Okay, we're not going to be able to see it because there's your highest number, there's your vertex, and there's your lowest number. So you know it's going to be the decimal then. You could go through and change the table set, and you can change it to let's see, maybe the hundredths, 0.01. That may help. And go to table now. Now we don't want negative. Now you can also configure your calculator to find 7, but I'm not familiar with that, so I'm not even going to try to. I'm trying to get to 0, so hold on a second. So you put it to the 100th, it takes longer for it to get there. Or you could just solve it. I'm just going to solve it. I'm not going to fool with it. So go to your handy dandy paper and type in 7. And you can type it into your, right here. You can type it into that, or you can type it into your original equation. It doesn't matter. So -7, or 7, is equal to 16 t squared plus 32t. And you could change that to 16t squared plus 32t plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. And then you could solve it like that. Or you could plug it into the original ... or you could plug it into 7 or -16 x minus 1 quantity squared plus 16 is equal to 7. You can do that. This is the intercept form, which I got right here. Okay. And you could say, okay, -16 is 9. Or I'm sorry, yeah, -16. So -16 is equal to 7 minus 16. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it right. Okay, -16 times x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to -9. Divide by -16. Divide by -16. Take my calculator, and I'm going to divide. Second quit. And I'm going to take 9 divided by 16. 0.5625. So x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 0.5625. And I'm going back and forth because let me move this over. That's 0.5625. Take the square root of both sides, which means I'm going to raise this to the 0.5 power. And that means that I've got 0.75. So x minus 1 is equal to positive or negative 0.75. And add 1, and that's going to be at 1 second, 1, 3, well, let me just do the math. X is equal to, it's going to be 2 answers, 1.75 and 0.25. So at this 0.25, you're going up 0.25 seconds, and at 1.75, you're coming back down, and your height is 7 feet. Oops, I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong. Here we go. There. My bad. Okay. And that's how you find that. Now, of course, you could have found it on your calculator. I just don't feel like going through all that pushing buttons, and you can do that. And I think you can do something right here And I'm not a big calculator person, but if I want to ask for one of them, I think you ask for the dependent. And I think if you hit ask right here, and then you hit second table, and then you type in, let's see, I thought you typed in 7. See, that's what I thought you did. See, I don't know which one it is. Let me go over here and do second table. Second table set. There's one of them you can do. Let me go and hit auto there. Let me hit X right here. Yes. Now let me hit set table. No. So if I type in 0.25, yeah, that's it. And 1.75. Oops, 1.75. Okay. So you actually go to trace, and you could try to trace it, but I doubt it might help you. Let's see if we can find close to y is equal to 7. There's 6.44 and there's 7.53. And you could zoom in to that area 2 or 3 times and you could probably get it real close. Or you could do y is equal to 7. Right here. I'm just showing you different ways to do it. And graph. And now you can find the intersection. And hit second, trace, and intersect. Now you only need the left because that's where it's going up. So hit enter because you want the blue line and then you want the red line. And it's supposed to ask you for a guess. I'm going to take mine. Right there. And so I've shown you several different ways you can find it. So they're probably going to ask for another. I'm going to do it on the graph. So here it's going to be 0.25 seconds. And we're waiting 2 to 3 days. There we go. This one says 4 foot on the way down. So I go back to the graph. And now I do, instead of y is equal to 7, I'm going to graph y is equal to 4. Now on the way down is on the other side. So I'm going to go on the other side this time. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to type in 4. Now you don't have to type it in there. You can type it in right here if you want to. Okay, but I'm going to type it in because it'll make better sense to type it in right here. You don't want too many lines on your graph. And graph. Now it says coming down. So now when I do my guess, I'm going to put it on this side. Second, trace, go down to intersect. One thing it's going to ask you next is what lines. I'm going to do the blue line and the red line. Second curve is the red line. And my guess, you put your guess right there. Enter. And the answer is 1.87. So at 1.87, you are at 4 feet coming down. So 1.87 coming down. 1. Okay, 1.86 then. 4 decimal places. Oh my Lord, why don't they change horses in midstream? 1.8660. We all take time to the fourth decimal place. 1.8660. 1.8660. And that's it. Now, this is a good test question, but I probably wouldn't ask that many questions. If I did ask this question on a test, I would just ask it one time, and I wouldn't ask it again because it has 4 parts. But it's a good test question. I like this question. Okay? All right. Well, I'm going to shut her down now. Got any more questions? Send them to me. Hopefully, I covered my base. Let's see. Can I hit? I can't. No, I can't. I'm going to go over here and hit stop.